Hey guys, welcome back to First and 10 over here on Clueless Gamers. I'm your host, Pete. Sadly, once again, not joined by my co host, Brian. Guys, we're adults. Life sometimes gets in the way. Brian and I have multiple jobs each, and unfortunately, our schedule was not able to get together here as we're covering, of course, week number 7 of the NFL and doing our picks for week 8. It's pretty late. This is a late recording. It's going to kind of be a lightning fast kind of special edition episode, just like I did the last time where I did it by myself. There's really not going to be much editing in this, so hopefully you'll stick with me as I talk for about 20-25 minutes on this journey. Guys, we're only going to cover one game because, like I said, it's a late episode, just trying to get at least something out for you guys, which hopefully will be good enough content for you guys. I want to talk about the Broncos-Giants game last week in week number 7. The Broncos defeat the Giants 33-32 in one of the wackier games that I've personally ever seen, and I'm sure many of you have ever seen. The Broncos score all 33 of their points in this game in the final quarter. Bo Nix in the offense for Denver could not have looked worse through 3 quarters. The Giants left some points on the board. Sure, there was a missed extra point, but there was enough that would be done. 19-0, rookie quarterback, rookie running back in a hostile Denver environment with that great supposed Denver defense, and to throw it all away, which happened for a myriad of factors, right? You had Jackson Dart was pressured on one through that terrible pick. You had another missed extra point, 2 on the game in the fourth quarter by the Giants kicker who has since been cut. You had a lot of factors from that defense looking winded and just thoroughly getting out-coached, outplayed all down the field, even leading to Bo Nix having one of the great fourth quarters you've seen in a long time. And sadly, I was also playing against him in fantasy last week, so that did not help as well. He had 2 rushing touchdowns and 2 passing touchdowns in one quarter. It was an incredible comeback from the Broncos. And you know what the crazy thing is? I think it's more of a collapse. Like if Brian was here, I would ask, do you think it's more a collapse from the Giants or more of a heroic comeback from the Broncos? I think it's more of a collapse from the Giants, because I don't think there was moments that the Broncos coached particularly well. I think of that moment where, the pass interference call happens, which I did not think was a pass interference, when Jackson Dart is leading another drive down the field to kind of try to get one of these, come from behind touchdowns, which he eventually gets. He gets a pass interference call, and Sean Payton is on the field screaming at the referees, ends up getting another 15-yard, personal foul penalty for the conduct that he is showing towards the ref. I think there was some questionable choices with his decisions, how timeouts were used down the stretch, but it didn't matter at the end of the day because the Giants and Brian Daboll, defensive coordinator Shane Bowen, and just the Giants as a whole kind of imploded and allowed the Broncos to have this historic comeback, which I'm still can't believe it. One of my kind of favorite things is when a team has one of these collapses, to hear what local radio, local fans are saying, and listening to WFAN the next day and having callers, call in and speak about the Giants and all of their frustrations, because I think we've gotten a little out of hand with how the Giants have been handled in the last few weeks, right? Like, there is nothing wrong as a Giants fan to have the excitement you do. Jackson Dart has brought, Cam Scadaboo has brought incredible energy to a franchise that over a decade plus now has been dead on arrival. Totally understand that. Have no hate. Giants, if I had to pick a second favorite quote-unquote team, the Giants would be that. I have nothing but love for Big Blue. But I got to call a spade a spade. And this team right now sits after this horrible loss at 2-5. They're not making the playoffs. They're not winning the division. And there's fans, trust me, out there that are still saying this. There's people on the radio, in the journalistic columns for the Giants that do believe this. It's not going to happen. This team is not going to be able to make that run. There is a fun future to build here, to see if Brian Daboll is the right guy, to see if Jackson Dart continues to what we think is the right guy at quarterback and see some of these young pieces develop. But the truth is, the Giants' back end is rough. They're down, obviously, Malik Neighbors for the season. They're starting a bunch of no-names, really, out there. And your Wandales, who's okay, maybe a 3 wide receiver at best, and your little Jordan Humphreys. But it's not going to be good enough. We know it's not going to be. We know the team doesn't have enough. And I think the hype got a little bit away from the team, from Giants fans, and maybe even the coaches. Maybe even the way they conservatively kind of coached down the stretch in this game against Denver. Maybe the questionable calls I felt Daboll and the offense were making of running these long go routes and taking shots to Wan'Dale Robinson down the field, which not only is going to stop the clock, but is a low percentage throw to not keep the game going. It's those moments that bring me back to this hype that this team had and wonder, it got away a little bit. I don't even have to wonder about it. I know it got away from the media, from the fans, and we have to have a lot of questions at the end of the season. Is Brian Daboll the right guy? Is Joe Shane the right guy as general manager? I feel like Shane should go more than Daboll, but there's questions about should they both be removed. And if they were, then it becomes now you have a rookie QB going into his second year, starting over with a whole new regime. Is that good for his development? And I think all those questions kind of swirled around in my head as I was watching the Giants collapse in the fourth quarter. And, of course, I give my props to Denver, right? You have to. But for a team that now sits at 5-2, I don't really believe in them. Back-to-back weeks, they played sloppy games. They should have lost both games they've played against the New York teams. They've had these just dramatic fourth quarters. I think about the Philly game where they came back, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. But where has the offensive consistency been in the first 3 quarters and for a full game overall? I just think there's a lot missing from Bo Nix. And if you want to talk about hype that the Giants get, let's talk about the hype that Denver has gotten this season even before coming into it. The hype that their own coach and Sean Payton bestowed upon Bo Nix. I just don't see it. I don't think it's there. And I think if you look at the numbers, this great defense, is it that great? Because against the poorest teams, the dredges of the league, record-wise or otherwise, the Jets and the Giants and all these teams, the Broncos have looked great. And when they've played teams that are in their neighborhood or above them, they have not. And that's what I wonder. I wonder as we approach that halfway mark for the season, is this defense as excellent as I believe it could be, as the numbers supposedly tell me, as people, analysts tell me it is? And can this offense be anything that Sean Payton spoke it into existence in training camp that it is? Those are my questions that I left this game for. And I do blame it more as a Giants collapse. But there's okay. Let's put the expectations. We should know what the Giants are. It's fun, but this team just lost to the Saints a couple weeks ago. We know and we should know what the Giants are. The Broncos are the ones where all the pressure, all the hype, all the expectations. And I just don't feel like as a 5-2 team, they have truly met it to this point. Guys, as I said, this is kind of a lightning episode. That's the only game I'm going to talk about. And, of course, I'm here by myself. We don't want you to have to listen to my voice for too long. We go into the Week 8 picks. Of course, we've had a Thursday night game, week number 8. Vikings playing the Chargers. Chargers demolished them 37-10. Man, the Vikings, man, not only they're a mess, you know they're missing Sam Darnold right now. It ain't looking great. Carson Wentz out there, banged up, suffering, having a whole brace on his non-throwing shoulder. It was a rough night. And, while the Chargers, they leave something to be desired, getting Joe Alt back in this game, showing what he means to the team, now 4-1 as a team in the games that he started the season, you can see if this team gets a little healthier. You have your Khalil Max getting back. You get that defensive nucleus back together. You get a Mario Hampton eventually. Even, Vidal looked good in this game. But you get a Mario Hampton back. they could be dangerous. And they certainly showed it on Thursday night in what really was a mismatch. Going over to the games that haven't happened, the 1 o'clock games kick off with the Dolphins and the Falcons. And in this game, it's been officially announced Michael Penix will miss this game. We saw it if you watched the Sunday night game against the Niners last week. He kind of went down at the end of the game, really when the game was over. They were down by 10, suffered a knee injury. He will miss this week. And Kirk Cousins, who has been much maligned by his head coach, Raheem Morris, doesn't even want to say his name, talk about him in the offseason, even bring up any potential QB controversy, will now be forced to maybe say positive things about him as he'll be starting on Sunday. I believe the Falcons, even with Kirk, are going to win. The Dolphins are in absolute disarray, as I've said in multiple weeks, and it continues to be the same every single week. Mike McDaniels, and especially Tua, stop talking as much as you are at the podium. Tua this week talking about how short he is and how hard it is to see over the linemen to see some receivers. Dude, you're only making it look worse for yourself. Please stop. But I'm taking the Falcons in this one. The Bears head to the Ravens in one of these strange games. All the money, the points, I think it was like at one point 6.5 point favorites Baltimore was. I think they're down now, the last I saw, to 2.5. The big story out of this game, Lamar Jackson, full participant on Friday, looks like he was totally going to play. Then early Saturday comes, he's ruled out, and Tyler Huntley will be starting the game with Cooper Rush backing him up. Very strange, I know, with the whole scandal that went in the NBA with the kind of gambling scandal, that there is questions. Some people that kind of raised some flags with them with all the money that has been put on in every NFL game. Oh, got cheated here again. They said Lamar was playing and then he wasn't. It's a little bit of that to raise suspicion, but I take it more as there's some kind of internal struggle going on in there in Baltimore. We know in the past with the contracts that Lamar went under when it looked like he was out the door a couple of years ago, that Lamar, with his mom as his agent, he has a close family unit around him. We know he's a guy that's going to march to the beat of his own drum, which is totally fine. And if he feels in this case that the money was worth it for the contract, and in this case that he's not fully healthy, that feels like a little bit of a disingenuous situation for the franchise to him. Were they trying to make it, I don't even think it was fooling the Bears, making it seem like he was playing. I think it was more they were trying to pressure him into playing, that's a conversation as more news comes out. We're definitely going to be looking at that, but that has not been reported. That is just kind of my assumption that I took away from that, and he's not starting in this game. And when him not starting, even though I'm not a huge Bears believer, I think I like what Ben Johnson is doing. I think even with Caleb Williams not at the top of his game, nowhere near it, I think they have enough to beat this Ravens team and this porous Ravens defense with Huntley starting. I'm taking the Bears. The other 1 o'clock games are the Bills at the Panthers. Panthers 4-3. Andy Dalton starting this game. Bryce Young ruled out. But look, the Bills have a lot of problems going on. They've lost 2 in a row. They're coming off the bye. They have to get this win against a backup quarterback, even on the road. I have to take Buffalo. I'd be genuinely shocked if they go down and lose 3 in a row. And then next week, Brian and I would be having serious questions about Buffalo if they lose, but I'm taking the Bills. The Jets, the 0-7 Jets, play the Joe Flacco-led Bengals. Another time that the Jets are playing a former quarterback this season. Of course, obviously, week 1, they played Aaron Rodgers. Now they're playing the Bengals. In this game, Justin Fields will start. It was kind of a controversy of who was going to start. It seemed like it was more leaning that Tyrod Taylor was going to start. He was ruled out with a knee injury. Justin Fields will be back in there. Aaron Glenn has been a little coy with the media, but now they're going to be forced to start Fields. I'm taking the Bengals in this one. I think just top to bottom with old man Joe Flacco and those weapons, they're a better team than the Jets. It's getting hard to see some wins for the Jets right now, and I think they're going to drop to 0-8. The Niners head into the Texans, and I see the huge favorites for a while in this game was Houston. I know that defense is very good, but I'm taking the Niners in Mac Jones. I think what they proved last week against Atlanta, it's even a solid defense. The Texans obviously a step up from the Falcons in this one. I think Kyle Shanahan showed that he could create a game plan around the players he has available. He didn't throw to George Kittle. That situation wasn't set up from Mac Jones and Kyle Shanahan. No problem. It was the Christian McCaffrey show. I think whoever whoever's number is called this week, he'll be able to scheme it up against this Houston defense enough. And you look on the other side of the ball, C.J. Stroud, this Houston offense has been lost all season long. I think that's going to continue against Robert Saleh's defense. Give me the Niners. The Browns head into New England in a game where, the Browns, good defense, coming off their second win of the year, demolishing Miami last week. But the Patriots, at this point, I think we have to face, they're a good team. Drake May having an excellent season. I don't see any reason to believe that this game won't be a low-scoring victory, but a victory nonetheless for the Patriots. I'm taking them. The final 1 o'clock game is the Giants headed to the Eagles. And the Giants, this is a team that really dominated the Eagles a few weeks ago. Playing the dreaded twice in 3 weeks when you're playing the same division opponent. I do not think coming off the crushing loss, they are going to fare in the same way. Interesting thing that A.J. Brown was a late scratch with, I believe, a knee injury in this game. Then having another Instagram post about they're using me, but not using me correctly. And then they asked Hurts about it. Things are still weird in Philly, but I think they bounce back once again here. They bounced back last week against Minnesota. I think they bounce back and defeat the Giants. It's very hard for me to see the Giants winning and sweeping the season series against Philadelphia. They have not won in Philly, I believe, since 2013. I don't see the rookie breaking that streak here. Give me the Eagles. The 4 or 5 games kick off with the Buccaneers at the Saints. Buccaneers banged up everywhere. Mike Evans, unfortunately, his streak of 11 straight, trying to make it 12 straight 1,000-yard seasons is going to end. He's going to miss most of the rest of the regular season with a broken clavicle. He also suffered a concussion in the loss to Detroit last week. And the Saints maybe playing their second worst game of the year outside of the Seattle game last week against the Bears. I don't see the Bucs going down twice in a row, even as beat up as they are. I think they'll figure it out. Tez Johnson, Sterling Shepard, Emeka Mbuka getting healthy. No Bucky Irving in this game, but you have Rashard White. I see Baker going into the bye, bouncing back, beating the Saints. Give me the Bucs. The 4:25 games kick off with the Cowboys at the Broncos. Interesting matchup in this one. The Broncos coming off that huge emotional win. Their defense, as I said earlier, if it's for real, is going to be tested here in Mile High against this prolific top, I think, 4 Cowboys offense right now. I'm taking the upset. I am taking Dallas in this one. I just think this offense is going to be able to score over 20 points. And right now, we have struggled to see the Broncos consistently score over 20 points. Took an epic collapse to come back in one quarter last week. I just don't think if you get behind against the Cowboys, they are not the Giants. They can drop 40 on your head. Maybe against this Denver team, it's more like 27, and I think that'll be enough. Give me the Cowboys. The final 4:25 game is the Titans at the Colts. Not much to talk about here. The Colts are riding high, are the number 1 offense in football. The Titans are in absolute disarray. I think they'll win another game this season. I do not think it's going to be this week in Indianapolis. Give me the Colts. The final 2 games of the Sunday night game, the Packers at the Steelers. Green Bay going into Pittsburgh. Aaron Rodgers playing his former team probably for the last time of his career, if this is the last season that he's playing. And just most likely these 2 teams are not meeting in the Super Bowl. They wouldn't be meeting for another 3+ years from now. I don't think Aaron's going to be around at that point. So this is the final time. So that'll be a special moment. I think there's a lot of reason, believe it or not, to believe in the Steelers, to see Aaron Rodgers have a vintage game. I just don't think it's going to happen. I'm taking Green Bay in this one, and Micah Parsons and that defense. I think they've underperformed a little bit. This offense for Green Bay is certainly underperformed. They only have won games this season, it seems. I watched this video on it this week. I think every one of their 4 wins this year has been 27 points, which is incredibly strange. Between the Lions, the Cardinals, and the other couple of victories they had, they were kind of stuck at 27. If they get to that in this one, I think they'll beat the Steelers, especially the Steelers defense has not been what it should be in kind of what it is known for there is the Steel Curtain in Pittsburgh. I think it might be a high-flying one, much similar to the Pittsburgh Bengals game last week. But in this one, I'm taking the Packers to pull it out. And finally, as I do my unedited take, finally on Monday night, the Commanders head to the Chiefs. I'm not going to even leave the suspense here. The Commanders are kind of in free fall. They have a ton of injuries going on right now. Jana Daniels is going to miss this game. Marcus Mariota will be starting. Maybe Terry McLaurin will be back in the lineup. And the Chiefs are just absolutely dominating right now at home. Defense, offense, the way Mahomes is looking like an MVP candidate. I think this game would have been great, maybe a few weeks ago. But right now, the Commanders too beat up. Their season's pretty much over. Give me the Chiefs. The teams on the bye this week are I think the biggest we've had so far this season. 6 teams on the bye: the Lions, the Rams, the Raiders, the Jags, the Seahawks, and the Cardinals. Shout out to the Rams for that huge win in London last week against the Jags. But guys, that wraps up here. 1st and 10 coverage there, really of just one game of Week 7. Week 8 picks. I'm sorry this was a shorter episode, kind of a lightning episode. No, Brian. We'll be back, probably the two of us, next week to cover more of Week 8 and give our Week 9 picks at that time. I'll be excited to get Brian back, and I know you guys are too. As always, like the video, subscribe to the channel, share with your friends if you be so kind, and until next episode of 1st and 10, thanks for watching.